I've mentioned it before, but I've talked a little bit about how we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, with absolute certainty, that the Earth has been warmer by more than 1.5 degrees centigrade than it is today. In the New Testament church era, and how that was a good thing, a positive thing, and that life flourished. Life does better with warmth than it does with cold. Yeah, really does. You wouldn't have been able to figure that out from the crazed children running around various cities in the world over the past weekend. But this is a religion that is being birthed before our eyes. Well, not before our eyes. It's been being birthed for a decade or so, maybe a little more. They had to switch over from the we're about to freeze to death thing to we're about to boil to death thing. I posted a video with Leonard Nimoy, Spock, narrating it from 1974, I think, that was talking about the coming ice age, how within a decade, we're all going to be frozen solid, and all that kind of stuff. And hey, if Spock says it, that's it. Yeah, I know. We grew up with that. I know. That's what we were told. I didn't care. I lived in Arizona. We'd like it to be a little cooler.
Yeah, but if it wasn't duck and cover.
Oh, yeah,
did
sure.
You do that?
Well, that was a real threat.
Yeah, but I mean, we did duck and cover. I'm serious, but wait a minute, seriously. You're telling me that the Russians are going to drop a nuclear bomb on Prescott, Arizona, and us kids being underneath the desks?
You have no earthly idea how many nukes we have hidden in the forest up there.
But us hiding underneath
the desks. They could miss, too.
If we hid under the desks, that was going to help.
It's going to help with the flying glass, yes. Yes.
So, like I said, if it wasn't duck and cover, which we practiced in grade school.
Yeah, I know. So do we.
And it was the coming ice age. We were all going to freeze to death. And the dinosaurs were.
But like I said, it was never. You watch some of these people, these snowflakes, who are vowing never to have children. And I'm sort of like, you go ahead with that, baby. You go ahead with that not having kids part. We'll outnumber you so fast it's not even funny. But you look at these children, they are absolutely frightened out of their minds. And they don't know anything about the other side. They do not know that there could be a debate because, of course, we know that people will not allow for that debate. If you dare question the science, I question a lot of science today. Because when science and politics get together, it ain't science no more. And science has been co-opted by politics for a very, very long time. But boldly and openly today on so many different fronts. When someone with a gender studies PhD talks to me about the science of transgenderism, I just go, I'm sorry, that has no meaning. You're a nut. I have no respect for that kind of stuff. I don't, and I won't. Anyway, these kids are scared out of their minds, and they are being turned into a huge religious cult that will... they don't know history, obviously, because like I said, history demonstrates beyond all question that the Earth has been warmer than it is today, and that human life flourished, and I'll talk about that and prove it, and how important it was. But since they don't know history, then what they're afraid of, they don't realize we've already survived in the past, and it was actually good for us. And so they're scared to death. And given that they have lost any transcendent meaning in their worldview, it's sad, but these are the people who will be making policy within 20 years. And you must understand, the new Green Deal people, not only is there not enough money on the planet to pay for what they want to do, but the only way for that system to be established is to cut the human population by about 2/3. And they want you living off the land as a vegetarian in a tent, no electricity, no medical care, no cars, never going more than 3 miles from where you live, where you're born. They want the medieval feudal system. That's the only way to do what they want, what they think is going to save the planet. We talk about the culture of death. You need to understand this is a part of the culture of death, not life. They do not want human life to flourish because human life is bad. So you kill it in the womb, you kill it when it gets old, and you find other ways of killing it. This is part of the culture of death. And you see young people being co-opted into it. They've been turned into just walking bags of accidental protoplasm in their worldview as it is. They're looking for something to believe in. They've been told there's nothing to find in Christianity or in Scripture, or they're deprived of any historical knowledge. And so people that have no knowledge of their past are very easily controlled, very easily manipulated. And that's exactly what you're seeing. Now, of course, don't be deceived. That may be what they want for all the rest of us. They want all the rest of us to have no cars and no planes and no trains and no healthcare system and no transportation, and just take us back to the medieval period. They ain't going to do that for them. Okay? There'll be the special places for the people in leadership who need to continue to have the nice things in life. That's why you can have the socialists, some people still call them Democrats, but the socialists up there on the stage talking about, Kamala Harris, who I consider to be one of the most dangerous individuals in the United States, but Kamala Harris up there talking about having to modify our diets. And then what do the Democrats do? They throw a fundraiser where they cook 10,000 steaks. They are hypocrites beyond the meaning of the term hypocrite. But it'll stay that way. Trust me, it'll stay that way. I've thought one of the best things that could be done for the benighted American populace is to point out that if these people get what they want, there'll be no more sports. There won't be. You cannot have Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL. You can't have any major league sports without air travel. It can't be done. And of course, it's very high carbon emissions for all the people to get together at the stadiums and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So you need to understand this might be the lowball way of dealing with the 2020 election, is saying, remember, one side wants to get rid of all of your sports, especially NASCAR. Oh my goodness. Oh, the carbon footprint of NASCAR. Oh, but back to the serious part. Where's all this coming from? I'm not going to have children. We're going to abort babies. We need to cut the population back. We've got too many now. We need to let it die off. And of course, by the way, in history, whenever the earth is cooled, the result has been something called famine and massive death. And so that's what these people want, because they're part of the culture of death. There is a spiritual aspect to this. No one talks about it, but there's a spiritual aspect to it. We talk about being pro-life, but that has been so watered down into a political movement that what you don't realize is being pro-life means you want to see human life flourish because it is made in the image of God, and God has a purpose in it. And I just think, I did not have this element of a Christian worldview as a young person. It was not a part of your standard Southern Baptist college education. It comes later on, unfortunately. But I think a lot of Christians only have the negative side of a beautiful, positive Christian aspect in regards to a culture of life versus a culture of death. But you must realize, if you are, you've got to realize, and I know for some of you this is very frustrating, but as Voddie Baucham said years ago, if you do not be surprised when you send your children to live with Caesar, that they come back as Romans. And what has to be done is our children have to be given a knowing, positive culture of life. That's what the Christian worldview produces, a culture of life that presents us as responsible human beings created in the image of God with transcendent meaning, living in a world that is governed by God's law and God's will and God's decree, so that we will have patience and endurance, steadfastness. But they also need to be fully aware of the fact that this will set them at odds with their flesh and with the world and with those around them. And how to do that in the proper way is a challenge, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done. That's what we're facing. Otherwise, you're going to see, this poor Greta girl, that she is a disaster waiting to happen. She is a disaster waiting to happen. You let that kind of completely unhinged emotional despair go unchecked, and you're going to have people checking out. I mean, the suicide rate is the highest it has been in a long, long time. But this kind of religious fervor the world is ending could result in horrific death, which is exactly what, the culture of death would like. The culture of death doesn't care about that. They may say they do, but they're very, very happy if that kind of thing were actually happening. So keep that in mind. You're going to see more and more and more of it. You're going to see more and more and more of it. It is just absolutely astonishing what we have, what we're seeing all around us.